Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to discuss about developing economics, how to start a career in international development. Based on my experience at the World Bank and outside, as well as conversation with the development practitioners, Pierre Fables, Chief Society Policy and Monitoring at UNICEF, Dean Saira, Lead Urban Specialist at WB in Nairobi, Brenda Brand, Consultant of the World Bank, including several here today's Cheese Russell joined degree La Fellow and UW Law Schools. Steve Malpez, UW Professor, Real Estate and Urban Land Economic. Widespread agreement. It is a tough job market and breaking into the development requires passion and persistence and patience coupled with a lot of luck. There are things you can do to increase your chance. I will discuss someday. There is an enormous amount of material of the web focused on job in the international development include website release with the related jobs to conversational job boards, Refi Waves, UN Job Finders, Careers, Gears, Dolls, and etc. Facebook group, International Job for Young Professionals. Can remember, couple will make articles, research and real. What can I add? General advice, but also some unique of the international aid architectures, ODA flow and aid providers. Strategy for building a career in development with some personal stories from cheers, Steves, and personal contact. Why do you want to work in developments? One of the greatest accomplishments of the past 50 years, the massive drop of the number of children death from 20 million children in 1960 to 8.1 million death last year, is an example of the tremendous progress we have made. In large part thanks to the foreign assistance, if the world come target on a plan for financial development, the impact of health and development will be enormous. Do not be shewed by the promise of the privilege, grand benefits, and the high salaries. That aspect of development work is gone and fast disappears. What kind of work do you want to do in what role? Diplomatic and administrative, technical expert including program manager or humanitarian aid. On which issues? Financials and macro, business innovation, private sector development, service basis health, education, water and sanitations, BRIC, conflict effect of the countries. Which agencies and firms do the kind of work? What skills do you need? How can you equip yourself? Sustainability from 1000 to of other job seekers. Specific tasks, skill are particularly important for an internship entry-level job. What are effective approaches toward getting a job in the field? Job boards are good for knowing what out there, but personal contact are still the main route into the job, especially entry-level jobs. Network. Lots of good advice online. Start with modest expansions, volunteer, be willing to office work, be flexible, passionate about change. Come across is a sound potential team member with the interesting skill. We'll come back to these two things to keep in mind. There are a lot of people out there with extensive country experience, laugh, and the goal technical skill. Entry level job are increasingly going to local staff, also increase south higher. That is different from when I entered the field. Learn about how the aid system work. Mass development work is financial by foreign aid. Foreign aid including financial or technical assistance given by other to a country, either a grant or a subsidized loans, can be given received by the government, characteristic foundation, business or individual. Development Assistance Committee of the OECD, an international organization that track ODA flow. 30 plus industrialized countries belonging of the OECD include most of the major donor countries. According to the DAC, foreign assistance must meet two criteria to be counted as aid: designed to promote economic development and welfare as main objective, provide as a grant or heavy subsidized loan, referred to as concessional assistance. If loan, then grant element must be 25% or more. There are different categories of aid. Official development assistance is paid provided by DAC, donor government, to a low and middle income countries for development purpose. Bilateral national and aid program. Multilaterals. Private voluntary assistance is another important source, increased rapidly, including humanitarian assistance. Churches, faith-based organizations have been involved for decades. More records, rapid expansion of assistance provided by INGO, Save the Children, Oxfam, World Vision, and foundations. And new foundations like Gates, which current provide more than $1 billion in support primarily for education and health research and program is low-income countries. In recent year, private assistance is estimated to provide countries with as much as half to two-third increase over official development assistance. But private assistance is not country in ODA, which is limited official sources. Who gives ODA? Most ODA is given in the form of bilateral assistance from one country to another, typically through the Bilateral Development Agency USAID, DFID, JICA, CIDA, SIDA, Saudi Fund for International Development. Many countries, the US have multiple aid agencies. USAID Minimum Challenges Corps, Depths of Agricultural Defense, Health and Human Service SNSR, also Peace Corps. Some aid provide in cash, but 70% provide in goods. Example, agricultural product, medicines and services. By a pushback in recent years, agencies tied aid, food aid, and use. Many of aid-conscious donors no longer allow tied aid, good in many respects but also problematic given ongoing shift for pure development objective to more commercial interest in given relationship between rich and poor countries. Even true example for Norway in terms of relationship with Vietnam. ODA donor country estimate also include bilateral aid. Countries provide bilateral ODA as well as aid through multiple institutions. Major institutions include World Bank, IMF, MEGA, IFC, UN Organization, European Union institution, include EC, regional banks, AFDB, ABD, IADB. Different rationalities for multilaterals aid by but generation less tight for national interest policies whose sales provides lower overall cost. Global harmonizations of aid share global objective. World Bank is the largest multilateral aid institution. The International Bank of Reconstruction and Development, founded in the Bretton Woods Conference in July 1944 to finance to the reconstruction of Europe after the World War II, shifted to focus on countries outside European with advance of the Marshall's Plan. Until 1968, focus on building economic infrastructure, port, roads, irrigation system. 1970 revised focus on basic need including education and health. McNamara introduction focus on poverty. 1980s difficult era of structural adjustment expand lending to Africa. Through presence more diverse lending portfolio, more open process, greater focus on environment social concern. World Bank is heavily dominated by US interest, which is strong tie with the US Treasury. All World Bank president are US nominated by US president, beginning to the change within response to changing distribution of wealth, changing global financial flow. World today look in different than 1970 to 1980s. World Bank consists of 5 affiliate institutions operating 100 plus countries. IBRD, International Development Association, International Finance Corp, Multinational Investment Guarantee Agency, International Center for Settlement of Investment Dispute. Most funding provided by WB is not aid. IBRD lends to middle-income countries at market rates. Borrow from international capital market related to developing countries at cheaper rates than countries can obtain directly. But demand for IBRD loans has been falling, especially as countries' progress become more credit-worthy and can access international market. WB has become lender of last resources, increasing exposure in poor conflict effect and fragile states. IDB provide the aid through grants and highly concerned loan. Donor countries contribute fund to IDA, which are used to provide concise loans and grant IDA eligible countries. IDA eligible DNA per capital less than $1,215. IDA gives grant plus loans on concessions terms. Annual lending developer determined by policy and institutions. Currently 59 IDA only countries. Several countries that receive high ODA are included on the blend list. Countries with the biggest exposures: China, Brazil, Turkey, India, and Indonesia. World Bank controlled by 188 numbers governments. US is largest shareholder. Voting shares: Japan is second, 8.6, UK is 6.9, Germany 5.9, France with 3.7, China with 2.1, and followed by regional group of countries. The board, chaired by WB President, decided on major policy directions. Farewell. very political environment changing of the geopolitical or geographical of the world changing. US is the only countries with the veto power, but much less like the existing in the recent year. Controversial loan do not make it to the board. This is the way actually many things happening, and we have to be very much careful about that. Thank you. Bye bye and take care.